Good morning, Northeast Eagles. I'm Lillian.
And I'm Preche.
And this is your morning news for Thursday, September 11th, 2025.
The weather for today is a high 92 and a low 62 with a 6% chance of rain.
Our word of the week is inquisitive, an adjective meaning curious or inquiring.
For example, zoo officials said he was inquisitive, gentle, and smart.
Quote of the day.
Learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow. The important thing is to stop questioning. Albert Einstein.
And now it's time for this day in history.
In 2001, terrorists flew two airline jets into the World Trade Center towers in a coordinated attack on the United States. Two other jets were hijacked, with one crashing into the Pentagon, the headquarters of the U.S. military, and one crashing into Pennsylvania. Over 3,000 Americans perished that day, and we vowed to never forget. For today's news, we have a special video presentation. Caleb and Alexa went out and interviewed your teachers about their experience on 9/11. Take a look.
First period, social studies. My teacher's name was Miss Mayo. I remember it very clearly. We were in a portable, like the ones you guys have, but ours was double-sided. So there was a classroom on each side and a wall separating it. The other side of the portable was the ISS room. And there was this very scary lady named Miss Muffy, who was the ISS teacher. Well, she happened to be listening to the radio that day, and during first period, she came in, knocked on the door that separated the portables, and we saw her whisper something to Miss Mayo, and we just saw this horrified look on Miss Mayo's face, and that's when she turned around and told us that the World Trade Center had been hit by an airplane. We had no details. Of course, this was before smartphones, so we couldn't even log into computers to see what was going on because we didn't have laptops.
Actually, we were just told that something had happened, so we kind of went through the whole day just hearing little bits and pieces. We had a communication system different than what we have now in our classrooms on our computers, so we were kind of communicating through that, but we didn't know the full impact until school was over. We had just heard that an airplane had hit the World Trade Center. And so I just remember that all the teachers were worried about their children, and we were nervous about our country, and we all came together. I mean, we all were, it was just a very patriotic time for our country.
I was a senior in high school. I remember we were sitting in the cafeteria, and the alarm sounded, and we had to immediately go back to our class, and everyone was in disarray and confused about what was going on. We got back to our classroom, and I remember our teacher turning on the news, and we just sat there. We sat there confused, very confused.
How did you feel when you found out?
Aside from being confused, I was very scared. I didn't know if they were going to, at that point in time, come and get us. I think everyone in the world was confused and in a state of panic and being scared.
When did you realize how serious it actually was?
Immediately. Growing up, I didn't recall any event that was more amplified than this.
During 9/11, I was actually on my planning period in the classroom, getting ready for the day to get started, when I guess the first plane struck the towers. And I remember a fellow teacher coming into the room and saying, turn on the news, have you all seen this? That there was a major airplane crash. And so we turned the TV on, turned to CNN, and they of course showed it again. We got to see the actual incident to where the plane hit the tower, the first plane. And of course we just thought it was an accidental crash for the most part until the second plane came in and hit. And during that particular time is when we began to realize that something else was going on. Also keeping in mind that were people in our building who husbands worked at Fort Campbell. And of course, their phones started going off and certain pieces of information started coming through their phones. So it gave us a little bit more of an indication that it was something serious going on across the country at that point in time.
I was teaching 4th grade at Moore Elementary, and we got an email, or actually back then we had a broadcast on our computers, and a little sound came up, so teachers were supposed to go there and check their computers, and we told, do not turn your TVs on, and do not tell anything about it. And so teachers got very curious, and during our planning period, we kind of gathered together and we saw the towers starting being hit by these planes and coming down. We told not to tell any students. So the rest of that day, we tried to keep things just as they normally were. But it was a pretty emotional event.